tonight's guest on This Week in Metropolis, he once said to us that he would walk 500 miles. He would walk 500 miles to be the man that walked 500 miles to see This Week in Metropolis. Oh, that's all I've got to say about that.
The latest pop culture news with your hosts, James and Matt. Welcome to This Week in Metropolis.
Good evening and good morning wherever you are. Good afternoon, Auf Wiedersehen, or is that goodbye? I don't even know. But
no, it's goodbye.
Well,
it's quite a shaky start to this episode.
It is. I didn't know where I was, but welcome to. I'll tell you what it is, guys. It's the heat, because it's been a sweltering week in Metropolis. It has been like a metropolis. That's how hot it's been, even here in Norfolk. And our guest this evening, who's up in. Are you in Edinburgh or have I made that
Aberdeen.
up? Aberdeen, a place me and Matt know very well. Having used to, well, I certainly used to work. I mean, I'm digressing, but we know Aberdeen. But our guest this evening, our good friend of the show, Highland G, is with us. Thank you for joining us tonight.
It's great to finally be on. I've been watching for a while, so it's just nice to be able to come on and have a chat with you guys.
And thank you. That's the very important point. Thank you so much for the support that you've given us for all of this time, which is, very, very appreciated. And we're very, very grateful for all the support you've given us. So it is great to have you on to get to know you a little bit better as well. So, yeah, for everyone that doesn't know you, why don't you give us a little introduction about yourself?
So, as it says, wherever it is here, there. I'm Highland G. Basically, I do a YouTube channel, and I've also got Instagram where I kind of post about comics generally. I actually started out the channel on sort of gaming stuff a few years before, and I kind of focused around Wii U games. The reason being, generally speaking, when I talk about things and I get really enthusiastic about something, it tends to be a bit more niche, and sometimes the people around me just aren't as interested in that kind of thing. So one of my brother's friends actually suggested to me one day, he was just like, why don't you just create a YouTube channel and then you'll find the people or find your audience, kind of that side of things. So I done Wii U games for about maybe 2-3 years, and I started getting really over ambitious with the videos and trying to have the split screen actually on my videos, so I'd have bits of gameplay going on while I'm in another sort of gamepad shot that's showing me, and it got ridiculous. And it just got too much pressure, to be honest, to try and kind of keep up and have the launch of everything that came out. I wanted to buy it. I wasn't even playing it. I was just, buying to show off the thing that was coming out.
Yeah.
And I kind of had enough of that. And I got into comics through various kind of things that happened in life. And I've been into comics as a younger kind of kid anyway. This was kind of getting back into things, and I kind of changed the channel to that. So I dropped the name down to Highland G from sort of Highland Gamer, and that's kind of what I've been focusing on since. And then as far as the comic videos are concerned, my main focus has been sort of closer look videos, which I find it really hard to explain to people, but basically the idea came from the fact that when you go to things like Amazon and buy things, a lot of the time they only talk about the story of the thing that you've got, not the actual object that you're buying, and they'll mix all the listings together, and they're not really the review of the same product. So you look at one graphics card and they're talking about 20 different graphics cards in the review section, or you buy a DVD that's a specific steelbook and you want to know the quality of the steelbook, is it scratched, all those kind of things. And the review's just whether or not the movie was good. So what I tried to do with my videos was focus a little bit more on the physical object, show people the book, the build of it, the feel of it, the experience of the actual version I have, still touching on the story and saying whether or not I kind of recommend it, but covering those areas that I felt was a kind of gap, I guess.
And sorry, go on, Matt.
No, I was just going to say, that is a really interesting point, because I think there's so much and I think we've, via the comments now, we've spoken a little bit sort of about physical media and things like that. That is so much part of the experience, isn't it? In that you're buying that thing and it's not just a case of you're buying it to absorb whatever information is in that thing. It's that ownership of that thing, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Which is, as you said, when you look at Amazon, I find myself looking through like Amazon, and you'll be reading a review and you think, oh, that sounds great. And then you'll look at whatever it is above the review and it's,
something totally different. Yeah.
Something totally different. Exactly. You think, well, brilliant. Where's the actual thing? Particularly, like you said, with computer components or like a monitor or something, quite ordinary like that. You end up reading a review of something by the same manufacturer, but not anything related to that actual thing itself.
Yeah, and I find that was very important with a lot of comics. If you buy like the oversized books and you want the binding that'll kind of lie out flat, and a lot of the time books can end up being glued binding, and the experience is not as good because the book's trying to shut itself the whole time you're trying to kind of read it. And just like knowing those things, knowing what you're paying for what you're getting. I mean, I don't necessarily mind having the lesser experience if I'm paying a lesser price, but I don't want to pay as if I'm getting a deluxe book if I'm not getting that. So that was kind of where things started, and then I've just kind of ventured out a little bit kind of from there and started doing little things that I've kind of learned. So maybe how to put things on a shelf in a better way so your books don't get damaged, and just kind of little tips of how to maybe stretch out the binding. I know some other guys have done videos on that as well. It's just, again, so that you're not cracking it at one point and causing a kind of weak spot in your book or something.
And we had this before, didn't we, Matt? Who was it who told us about that? Yeah.
Off my shelves, where he did a demonstration of how to sort of open the book properly. And
so I mean, the basic premise is that you've got a piece of fabric that has glue across it, and you need to fracture that equally across the book, because if you fracture it in one place, the book's going to end up just spiking up in one bit.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. Just before we move on, just want to say quick, because there's loads of people who joined us already this evening, which is great. We've got the Quizler, as he's on that account this evening. Happy Tuesday, gents. It's Shane from Dawn of Comics. We've also got Sonic's Comics. Martin's here, although he's not really, because he's just popping in to say hello.
He's probably not anymore.
Yeah. See ya. Good to see you though, Martin. Connie's here. Hi, Connie. Hola. Is she in Spain? Who knows? We've also got
the weather.
Phil from Phil's Nerdyverse. Evening, chaps. And we've also got Fuzzy Dunlop is here as well. So lots of comic book fans who I'm guessing probably is where we all kind of came together through the quiz. Probably that's where a lot of us kind of met through Shane.
Yeah.
So much appreciated. And Shane just actually posted another comment saying Highland G's how to sell on eBay videos are a masterclass in getting the most out of your listings. And again, that sort of stuff. I mean, there's got to be good value in them sort of videos, isn't there? If you can give sort of tips on and advice to help people get the best value for their stuff, I mean, you must get tons of views on them sort of things, because the amount of things that I do, for example, if like now, it used to just be a Google search on how to do something, and now a lot of the time, all the options that come up are videos. So it's definitely moved in that direction, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I find things that are specifically named as a kind of a how-to or an explanation type video tend to get a lot more hits. Like on my channel, my explained kind of group of videos is my highest. Like they're at least 2,000-3,000 views per video compared to maybe like 200-300 on some of my average videos. But the sort of specific unhaul videos that Shane's kind of referencing to are not labeled as an explanation video, because they're just what I'm clearing out that month kind of thing. And what I try to do is within those videos pick out one little sort of area each time to give a little bit more focus to. So it might be how I package something, or how I list something, or what I look out for, in timing of listing things. Because eBay does like specific offers at times where they'll reduce your listing cost by like 80%, which can make a significant difference if you're selling something over £100. So it's just little things here and there, and then it kind of adds up if people watch the series.
Yeah. And there's also like so many sort of hacks to different systems now, and algorithms and all, and it's the same for Instagram, it's the same for Twitter and all these sort of things, where these like I said, algorithms of how to get more views on things. And is that something that you try to do, or are you doing it more for the benefit of the people that are watching it?
I mean, to be honest, I think all of us look at the numbers at some point. I mean, you're not going to have a channel and not look at the numbers, but I only ever really cared about the numbers as far as getting the various things that it unlocked on YouTube to begin with. So it was things like getting the community tab and getting things like that. I never really cared about, things like monetization or anything like that, or making any kind of money back on it. It was always about building a community and kind of chatting with other channels and doing those kind of things. And then the audience becomes a greater community of that. And that's great. But ultimately, I'm not here to nickel and dime the audience. I'm here to just share what knowledge I have and hopefully, create some friends that are not, local to me and kind of things along those kind of lines. And I have recently done the monetization. I think I did it around when I was around 1,500 subscribers, something like that. But it was more because somebody raised the point at one point that like YouTube's going to put the adverts on your channel anyway, and they take the money. So why should they take the money for your audience?
100%.
Even if you get £5 in a month, it's your £5. It's not theirs. So,
that reminds me, Matt, you owe me £5.
As far as that's concerned, that's the way that should going to be. And I don't have a problem if people want to watch my content with ad blocks or anything on. That's their call. And to be honest, I'm not a fan. If you do look at the numbers of the sort of subscription system, because the subscription system actually pays the creator like 1/10 of the value that the ads do, which is crazy if you actually look at what you get paid. So YouTube's actually not really incentivizing us to get the people to subscribe, because we make like nothing if we get them to, as far as that's concerned. So I don't know. I've got the adverts on. If people are happy to watch them, that's great. If they want to put ad blocks on, that's fine.
I think it's just part of watching YouTube, though. I don't think, there's for me, when I watch a video, I wouldn't say I necessarily engage in the advert at all. There's the odd thing that comes up and you're just sitting there waiting to skip ad as such. But it's part of the experience, isn't it? It's like I
think it's like anything. You watch a show nowadays, you'll see like an advert at the start of a TV show or whatever. It's even if it's just the company's own thing. But the good thing, if you control the adverts and not YouTube, is that you can turn off the mid-roll adverts, so you don't get things cutting in halfway through your video, because I find that really annoying.
Some are relentless. Like some of the ones you watch, it's really segmented, isn't it? The amount of adverts you get in there.
I've seen 3 or 4 in like a 10-minute video. It gets a bit much.
Greedy. No, that's what it is. James, do you want to introduce our little quiz?
Well, it's not a quiz. It's just
we're 12 minutes in and we haven't said it. So
I haven't said it yet, but I was waiting for the right time, Matt. But we discussed this beforehand, and Highland G has kindly said he's happy for us to do this. Now, if there is anyone watching right now who knows the answer to this, don't comment, because if we see it, then it ruins the game. If you don't know and you want to throw a guess in, throw it in, and we'll suggest it at some point and claim it was our own idea. But we are going to be guessing sporadically, taking turns throughout this episode, what the G stands for. We know that it's Highland G's first name, but what is it? Matt, are you going to start with this? I mean, if you get it in one, the game will short-lived.
It's we'll just end the show.
Go rogue. Rogue.
I'm going to pick a name that I know is close to James's heart, which is Gareth.
For fuck's sake.
Gareth is no.
Thank God for that.
Gareth is James's nemesis. My friend, James's nemesis.
I'm sure he's watching the show now. He's a great guy. Whatever. I'm sure Matt will clip that up and send it to him. Whatever. But so getting back to kind of your love for comic books, I guess, because that's like you said, you changed the title of your show. The show name to replicate, so you could go away, not away from gaming, but open it up to more. What you mentioned that it's quite niche, the type of things that you're into. Is that particularly in the comic book world?
Well, I mean, I just find that, I guess, generally things that I get into, it's because I find an interest in it, not necessarily because it's the current thing. And from that perspective, when I done my sort of gaming focused channel, what I was trying to cover was the thing coming out that week. So I was trying to be for the sort of Wii U games, and specifically the sort of premium editions of them, I was trying to be the equivalent of sort of what Near Mint Condition does, like literally bringing out every single announcement, showing things as an overview, then doing a review, having clips and footage from in the game. You know, it's really, really difficult to do that.
Yeah.
And you also have to be constantly open to whatever the new thing is. And I found that for me, I would get into things. I would get into a certain area or a genre, and I would really delve in that area. And I would go back through backlogs of older games and kind of stuff like that. So I'm the same way when it comes to TV shows or movies or things like that. I don't watch every Star Wars or Disney Plus show that comes out. I've probably seen 2 of them. I watch shows that, you know, are of interest to me. So I'll watch, say, like Reacher on Amazon, and then I'll watch C on Apple, and I'll watch, you know, like whatever it is that actually catches my attention. And I find it's the same with my comics. So when I started getting back into comics, I tried sort of a lot of the Marvel stuff, and a lot of what I read is what they've now made movies out of. It's all the Civil War and Avengers kind of stuff like that. But it gets kind of rinse and repeat. So I started kind of delving into like whatever I'm interested in. So it was like, what TV shows did I enjoy as a kid? You know, Turtles, Power Rangers, stuff like that. So I started checking out those kind of things. I'd follow writers that I liked. So like Ed Brubaker stuff, really going to delve in. I almost own every book that he's released. And then more recently, samurai stuff. Like, so I've started kind of delving into that and being really niche on it. I've been trying to find color, non-manga samurai stories. So like not ones created from Japan, basically. And that's been an interesting kind of series of kind of videos that I've been making, and just kind of looking at that area, because I really love, from my experience of looking at all different comics, the art that you get from European sort of albums. They're just on another level. Even if you can't understand half of what they're saying, or the translation's not that great, like they're just really well made things, and they can just express sort of Japanese things in sort of painted arts and styles that you wouldn't see in the manga sort of black and white. So it's just things like that. And as I say, my attention will swing and I'll change to different things, but it's not necessarily whatever the current thing is. And because of that, I've kind of accepted that I'm not going to be that most popular channel. I'm not going to be that person who will follow every single week. I might be the channel that someone searches to find out about one book or to find out how to do a specific thing. And they might come in for that 1 or 2 videos and they might leave. I'll build a general audience and hopefully some friends, as I said, that are my general, maybe a few hundred people that kind of stick around. But I don't see myself as kind of chasing that dragon, you know, constantly kind of getting the hits. And I don't worry otherwise as well, because I find that some people take it really hard if a video doesn't do well. And, you know.
And you can go at your own pace that way, can't you, as well? If you're going into things that catch your attention, that you like the look of, rather than it being everyone's doing a review on the latest you know, comics that's come out, then at least you can almost go in your own little direction and, like you say, not have that pressure of I'm competing.
It's more like a slow evergreen than it is a kind of big, you know, launch,
and you get the enjoyment out of it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's you know, and the same with anything in life. If you're talking about or doing something you enjoy, whatever that thing is, it's so much easier. You know, I think throughout this podcast, we pretty much do what we want, as you've probably observed. You know, as a viewer, there aren't many rules to it. We'll have certain things crop up, you know, each episode or whatever, but that changes season for season and so on. But we have found ourselves in the past where we've been doing something weekly, particularly when we was doing more interview style formats quite a while ago. And it got to the point, I think we had this reality. We was talking about like potential guests. And then one of us said, but what on earth has that person got to do with our podcast sort of thing? We'd got so far like down this channel of getting certain types of people on them. We was just like, well, what's that got to do with it? You know, they've
locked yourself into something.
Well, exactly. It was almost like we were looking at how many followers they had and whether that could benefit us.
It was that sort of thing. It's like, but that's not us. So we just, that's it. We then continued doing whatever we wanted. And speaking, the key for us with this podcast is speaking to people that we find interesting and we want to learn from, and we or we have a shared interest with, which is makes it so satisfying that just that exploration of learning things from people. But I 100% agree. I can relate to a lot with what you're saying. I just go down these weird channels of, I'll read something on but my life tends to be, I look on Reddit, so I follow certain Reddit sort of groups, and then I'll read a comment, and someone will mention like it'll be about a film, and then someone will mention in a comment another film, and then I'll look up that film, and then they'll mention something else, and I'm just down this constant rabbit hole, especially with books. That's my worst vice. So someone will mention a book, and then I'll read an article about that book, and then they'll mention another book, and then I'll look on Amazon, and they're talking about something else in the comments, and yeah, it's just sort of
and it's also with regards to kind of a bit like what you were saying, Highland G, about, sorry, 1 second, Glenn.
No.
What you were saying about kind of not watching all the latest things that are on Disney Plus and whatever. It has become, I mean, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the first year of Disney Plus with, we had WandaVision and all the Marvel stuff that was coming out. But one, it wasn't as relentless as it was.
The whole experience was new, I think, as well.
Yeah, but
which was a big difference.
But didn't you feel like last year it just got a bit relentless, and you just, once one finished, then you had Star Wars show to watch, then that finished, then you had another Disney. It was just constant. You just like, God, give me a break. Do you know what I mean? And I just think that was absolutely. Like you feel, and the problem as well with social media is there's so much chance that you're going to stumble across something where there's a spoiler. I mean, I went to see the new Across the Spider-Verse at the weekend. I've done a review. Go and check it out if you haven't already. No spoilers as well. But I think, like, with that already, since seeing it, and it's only been out a week, since seeing it, I've seen so many clips of it on YouTube now. It's ridiculous how you can pretty much piece together the whole movie now. It's mad that you avoid anything nowadays. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's another reason why I kind of enjoy not following a lot of the kind of current things, because if something is spoiled, I'm not paying attention to it. And if I watch it a year down the line or whenever it comes out in Blu-ray or something like that, then I'm not going to be remembering that spoiler at that point. And then the things that I am looking at, no one's spoiling because they're not current.
Yeah.
But I
no,
don't
in the nicest possible way, no one cares about them apart from you and probably me and 10 other people.
I don't understand why that became the sort of controlled thing where you have to read the absolute latest book, or you have to read the absolute, or watch the latest movie, or whatever the case may be. I mean, like, I've always been of the opinion that there's a library of books that's out there. They don't have to be bringing out new ones every week. They can bring out a new one once a year.
Yeah,
same with computer games. There's always been huge libraries of things you can go back to. Steam is huge. We don't need to have a Call of Duty every single year. There's absolutely no need for the release rate of some of these things.
It's because people will buy it year in, year out, and they earn
it's a subscription
every
model.
year, isn't it?
The whole thing is for a subscription model, so that they can have this constant income. But also, by having this constant income and having the subscription model, they somewhat control the conversation, because everyone's talking about the thing that comes out that week or that month, and therefore it's a huge advertisement for that thing, and they get this huge boost into their business or whatever it is that they want us to be talking about at the time. And I don't know, I just decided that I'm not going to let them control my conversation or what it is that I'm going to read or do.
And can I just say, I mean, I don't know if you know this, Highland G, but fans of the show will know that I'm a huge football fan, and every year since its incarceration, is that the right word?
Inception, I think.
We'll go with incarceration. I like that. So, of Football Manager, which previously was Championship Manager, I've had that game since 90. I'm going to say 95, maybe 96, whatever it was, Champ Manager on the PC. I've had it year in, year out. I follow little dots all around the screen. As Matt calls it, I'm playing spreadsheets. But I've bought that game every year. This is the first year, 2023, where I've not bought it. and the season's finished now, so it's pointless me even getting it. But
And how do you feel about this? Like, what's been missing?
yeah, I've got rid of Sky this year. I've not got. I mean, what have I actually done?
It's a purge.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. It does feel, like you say, maybe you can take a year off of a game and then get the next one next year, and it'll be a lot different to the one that you had, because otherwise you only see minimal differences, don't you? It's a bit like you said, Call of Duty. Maybe that you can probably see more differences.
I also find, depending on how many hobbies you have, it's hard to focus on doing everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
So because my attention tends to get really wrapped up in whatever thing it is, whether it's playing guitar, reading comics, whatever it may be, I don't then have as much time to do the other things. So if I'm reading a lot for a few months, then I'm probably not watching shows. And then when I'm watching shows, I'm maybe not reading and kind of so on. So I might play like 1 or 2 computer games a year nowadays. Like, I'm not playing anywhere near as much. I could not touch the console for like a couple of months other than to watch a streaming show, because I'm just not controlled in that loop of that kind of, like every game that comes out, the latest thing. I'm not in those groups online talking about it where it's constantly kind of in the kind of conversation. I'm just kind of watching the things that I want and doing the things that I want to do. So therefore I don't feel as pressured to kind of do that as well. And I think there is a lot of pressure. Again, if you follow the sort of channels that are the opposite of what I'm doing, that have the things coming out week to week, talking about the launch dates and all the rest of it, they're not talking about the price in the way that, it's a bill and it's building up and all these kind of other things. They're just encouraging this constant kind of buying cycle. And that's not a negative necessarily on those channels, but you just have to be aware that's what you're watching and what you're taking in every week, because there are so many people I know out there as well that if you look at their shelves, about 80% of it's unread and about 50% of it's still in shrink wrap.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. That does.
I don't understand that. On my shelves, I have a sort of 5x5 Kallax as my main kind of shelves, and there's about 4 of them that is unread books, and they're all opened and stretched and checked that they're good, because I don't want to find out 6 months down the line when I open a book that it's a bad copy after I take the shrink wrap off. I don't understand that.
But you're buying them to read them.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like, I know there's value in this, but I remember.
And then I flip it if I don't want to reread it again. As well.
But there's people that get kind of toys and keep them in the boxes because it holds their value and things like that. But I just think, toys are meant to be played with. When you were younger,
got to use Toy Story 2. Is that strong moral message? Is that you need to play with toys.
I think there's a few different collector types where people either collect something for themselves and then at a certain point they want to have kept the value of that collection so that they can sell it, and I can appreciate that. There's collectors who want to play and enjoy as well, and that's a different type of collector. I don't see myself as a collector. I see myself as a reader who has a library of books, and it's my books, and if I don't want to read them, they shouldn't be in the library.
Nice. We've had a request, Highland G, just quickly, to close out this week's show. Shane has asked if he can do a live guitar performance.
Wow.
I mean, it's never been done.
That would be a first. That would be a first.
And we had the UK Foo Fighters on this series, so
and they didn't do it.
They didn't do it. So, well, you mentioned, sorry,
not with my arm still healing. I couldn't anyway. But
I know. What have you done?
There was a few months back. I slipped on an icy kind of bit when sort of walking home from work, and I basically stretched my arm out to try and grab a railing, and I missed the railing, came down on the arm, and done my whole shoulder, and so that's why I was off of YouTube for a couple of months. Basically, I had to rebuild the muscle in my arm. It wasn't fun.
Yeah, it's not good.
So I could, I can use it, but I can't play guitar.
Well, if you're not going to close out the show with a guitar, I've got a guitar in my cupboard over there. I still don't know how to play it. Carry on, Matt.
Firstly, I was going to guess Gavin as my next guess. No. And but I was going to raise you were saying about your hobbies and the different ones you've got. One that me and James are absolutely chomping at the bit to talk about is your 3D printing, which is I've been that close to buying a 3D printer for years, and I just can't justify it. But watching and seeing all the different things you post are just absolutely incredible. Where did that sort of start as such?
So, I mean, I've always been somewhat kind of creative within things. My job actually currently that I'm at, they kind of asked during the interview process, like, tell us something interesting about you. And I was like, well, when I got Buzz Lightyear as a kid, the year that the Buzz Lightyears are kind of rare and all that kind of stuff, the first thing I did was got my dad's toolkit and took it to bits to figure out how it worked, and then rebuilt it. And the wings have never quite worked the same, but everything else is still functional. And that's just the kind of person I am. I want to know how things work. I want to kind of get into things. And then when I went to uni, I studied sort of industrial design. So that's kind of
nice,
kind of a bit backing kind of there. I don't have a job in that. I'm just a general sort of technician, but that's kind of where my passion and kind of driving things is. I like to learn how things work and kind of do those kind of different things. So
if you have something
I used 3D printers at uni. Sorry.
If you have something that breaks indoors, rather than buy a new one, you'll try and take it apart and see if you can fix it.
Yeah, if I can rebuild something or if I can figure something out, then I mean, I'm not an expert in kind of say electronics. So, for instance, I could change a light switch or something, but I wouldn't like rewire a radio. Like there's lines of what I could kind of do. I've built my own computers,
your limitations
and stuff like that. Yeah. So there's areas that I learned things, and my dad always kind of had me hands on as a kid with stuff. He was always involved us in whatever we were kind of doing. So we were running things up and down the walls or under the floorboards or whatever. Like we were always involved in that kind of stuff. So as I said, when I was at uni, I used 3D printers, but it was very sort of rudimentary compared to what you can kind of do now. So what it was at that point in time was you had like an almost sand bed of like plastic little kind of pellets. Yeah. And a laser would kind of etch on that to make that kind of solid, and then it would let it drop down a level, kind of scrape across another layer of sand, and then rinse and repeat, kind of dropping it into the sand further and further until you got an object. And then if you really wanted to do anything with the object, you had to make a mold out of it. So we would basically drop super glue into it until it would solidify properly because it was very airy, and then sand it all down, make a kind of cast out of that with sorry, my throat's really dry. I cast it as some sort of silicon and then use that to make like a plastic mold out of something more solid, basically. And at that point in time, like it wasn't really practical to have those kind of printers and all that casting gear and everything around the house. That would have been absolutely ridiculous. And for every single mold or thing you want to kind of do, like it's just not really a possibility. And all the 3D printing technology at that point, beyond that, was extremely copyrighted by huge sort of companies. So if you wanted to buy anything even close to what I currently have in the house at that point in time, would have cost you like $5-6 grand, because of the copyrights on these companies and all the different patents. The long and short of it is, about a year ago, about 50% of those patents ran out, and the companies that owned them no longer exist. So they're not going to claim them back. It's just open season. So the companies have ramped up what they can do as 3D kind of printing. And essentially what my printer does is it kind of injection molds plastic down through a nozzle and draws. So it draws a layer and then it lifts up, and then it draws another layer and then it lifts up. But each layer is essentially solid. And if you get them hot enough, that becomes one solid object as an overall kind of thing. And what I've been able to do is then do that in various colors for different bits. And then you can put them together to create the sort of multicolored object as whatever you kind of want to create.
And is the software that you use for doing that? Because I'm guessing you design it all, create the templates of what it is on a computer.
What I did starting out with the 3D printing, my arm was injured at that point in time. So I was just downloading other people's files and kind of trying them out and trying really kind of basic, pull the file into what they call a kind of slicer, and that slices it into layers and then sends it to the printer so that it can kind of print in layers. And I printed things like this sword.
It's just mind blowing. Look at that thing.
He could literally stab someone with that.
Wow.
And then I painted the silver bits on here for kind of details, but this was all printed as separate colors.
Yeah.
So in terms of the size of it, so obviously that is big. Do you print that in sections?
So the print bed's about sort of 25 by 25 sort of centimeters, and it can print as high as about maybe 40 centimeters. So you've got that kind of box volume worth of space that you can kind of play within. The better thing to do with a lot of models is print smaller parts against the kind of flat edge, because then you get the quality on the top and you don't risk anything on the bottom from overhangs and things like that. So this sort of hilt section would have been printed in 2 halves, so that you get all the detail on one side and on the other side, and it's not got any kind of like hang downs or support needed for that. Because the more complicated the model you're printing, the more like extra little support plastics you have to print in order to make it hold up the parts while it's kind of printing. So as I started out with things like this, and it's connected. I don't know if you can see the kind of the lines.
I just love that you started out with that sword, which, as Shane has said in the comments, it looks like you bought it in a shop. Like that's it just looks incredible.
I mean, who doesn't want a master sword?
I mean, it's incredible. But again, going back to what Matt said, that's what you started with. Now he's built his own house.
I just imagine you've now got a complete exoskeleton to support you with your arm.
Oh my god!
Look at that thing! That's so cool.
Oh my days! Honestly,
so I tried to print different things with like Lego Men like style things. There's Usagi Jimbo.
All you're doing is making Matt think how much money he's got in his account at the moment, so he can go and purchase one of these.
Add to cart is all I'm thinking at the moment.
And then, about as complicated as I got from other people's models, it was this little one here. This is cool. So this is by Toymaker 3D. They've got a website. And the cool thing about this is you print all the parts and kind of clip it together. So it's kind of like an action figure. But this one actually transforms into a sofa.
Oh my god!
So you can actually take all the bits and like it all moves around and kind of. I'm not going to do it just now, but you can literally turn it into like it's like a singular sofa seat. As a little kind of thing.
So cool!
It's stunning. Have you got a favorite thing that you've made, Highland G?
So I've designed a few things myself, and that's kind of what I kind of moved on to from there. So when I started designing, I'm going to just grab the.
Cool. Yeah. He's just going
smallest thing that I kind of made is, and this was just fixing something around the house. So I said my arm was kind of hurt at this point, so I had to use my mouse in my left hand, and I had to learn a new 3D software program, and it's called Fusion 360. So I was used to older kind of auto sketch stuff from uni, and that's really out of date now and doesn't really kind of work for this style of thing. So I kind of was learning very slowly. So I started out and I drew just this little kind of like grip piece, because the rubber piece that we had on the bottom of our doorstop was just rubbing off on the carpet and it wasn't gripping anything. So I designed something with spikes so that it would sit there and it would grip into the actual ground, and then the door would sit just slightly on here and actually hold it in place. So
just a really simple like that,
piece of plastic, but it fixed it and it actually made it better than it was in the first place.
Yeah. Nice.
And then more recently, I just designed a few things for sort of fun. So I created a thistle.
It's so cool.
Amazing.
And how much you said before 5,000 maybe was the cost of a printer. How much? What's the entry level now for a 3D printer?
The one that I backed is the Anchor Make M5, and I backed it on Kickstarter. So I got it at a slightly kind of reduced price. I think all in, I backed the printer, and they're actually bringing out a sort of multi, basically engine that allows you to have 6 colors connected at once, and that will actually allow you to have the printer automatically change colors mid-print, rather than having separate objects in separate colors. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that kind of goes.
Yeah.
So all in, I was about £1,000 for the whole kind of thing.
Good, isn't it?
But if you buy the printer just by itself, I think it's about 700 as just the kind of standard printer. But this one is very much designed as you buy it with minimal kind of engineering knowledge. You're not building a kit, and you might have to like tune a belt or learn a couple of kind of like base skills, but you're not, having to repair and rebuild this kind of printer. You're buying basically a tool, like you'd have a normal printer in your house or something that you might have to fix every so often. And it's got like auto bed leveling and kind of things that you wouldn't necessarily get on the cheaper models. So if you're looking at like entry point of like what is the kind of main printers, I think it's like an Ender 3 or something it's called, you're looking about maybe £300-400. But if you want the ones that you don't have to quite mess around with so much, you're looking at maybe £600-700, which is still pretty good.
And the filament that you use is how long does that last? How much would Does that?
Yeah, so that's what I found was really interesting. Actually, was the filament itself. When I first started using it again, it's just kind of user error and kind of figuring things out as you kind of go along. And you get rolls of about 1 kilogram, and roughly speaking, the filament that I've been using so far is just called PLA, or you get like PLA plus that's like slightly stronger, and basically it's about £20 for a roll of a kilogram. You're going to waste so much at certain points. Like if you run one color through the nozzle and it leaves like residue behind, you might have to run the new color through to get rid of the excess before you can print the new color and kind of things like that. But when you're printing, you're very much building structures. So the way the printer works is it doesn't take the object as a solid object. It takes it as shapes with infill, and you can choose how much infill that is.
Sure.
So if you print something out and you print something like the sword, for instance, when I printed this parts out, I printed the main kind of end piece, the main sort of handle, the hilt section as a kind of 100% infill. And then when I printed the blade, I printed that along, and it's actually somewhat hollowed out anyway.
Yeah.
And I printed that along at maybe like 10% infill. The idea being that the balance point is with the weight of the sword. Again, I was just thinking engineering as I'm going.
Amazing.
So this handle probably took the same amount of plastic that the entire blade took.
Right.
When you think of the infill percentages, because this is hollow.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
That's incredible.
And that's maybe like, 200-300 grams, really. Like not a whole roll.
Graham?
No.
The interesting thing about all this, and it's funny that you've kind of just showed us a sword that you've made. I actually read on the news, it must have been a week ago, about someone being...
I designed this as well.
Oh my God.
You printed that?
I designed it and printed it.
No way.
That's incredible.
And the cool trick with this is that I did it in layers. So basically, everything on this is like layered out text at different heights. So when I created it, I created the base at sort of one height, and then the first text stops at maybe like 1.2 millimeters, and then 1.6 millimeters is the next one stop point, and then say 2 millimeters is the next one stop point. And then if you count the layers out when you're printing it, I would pause the printer, take one color out, put the next color in, and then hit play again. And if you time it just right, you can do different layers in different colors and then leave the top layer behind. Yeah. So if you look along the blue here, I don't know if you guys are able to see it on the camera at all, but you can see it goes like white, yellow, red, blue, like on the blue. It's not solid blue.
Yeah.
But from the front,
that is so clever, isn't it?
It's just multicolored. And I've been kind of refining this one for a while, because I showed it on Instagram and I had a whole bunch of the guys being like, I want one. I'm so close to having it refined. I don't know that I can like sell something that's like a copyright like this, but if I can get it refined, people that want one, just, give me a shout and I'll see if I can get you.
That is so cool. And just for listeners, that was a printout of the Out of Time Back to the Future license plate. Just amazing. And I think it shows, with something like that, it's so diverse. What really you are just limited to your imagination, aren't you, in terms of what you can make. The things you've shown us now, it's just
that's the thing. It's really the biggest thing and the coolest thing for me is literally that I could have an idea, sketch it, draw it up on the computer, and probably have a prototype within like 48 hours if I wanted.
But this is what I was going to say, because this story that I saw in the news or heard in the news recently was about, I don't know if it was one guy or a group of guys that had made working handguns.
Yeah, so there's a somewhat anonymous, I guess, group of people that were working on sort of BB guns and things for a bit, and then they got to a point where they wanted to. I think a lot of them based in the States where like arms are allowed anyway, and they got to the point where they could basically design automatic weapons that all they needed was the actual nozzle to be metal, and it could fire real bullets.
That is correct. I mean, the people.
There's a
whoever
couple
it
of
was-
channels online that have got a video like using them. I think it's like the 3D Professor or something. If you look up him, I think he's got a video on it.
It's quite scary.
I would
really.
never try and
Like-
download a weapon in the UK. I mean, you're going to get tracked for that. But it's cool that you
Only
can
a
do these sort of
sword.
things.
Stick with
Only
your
Well, I mean, yeah,
swords.
swords,
You're
yeah.
fine.
Or BB guns would be okay, but again, you'd have to watch what your ISP's watching.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
saying that, I was sorry, just because we probably need to start the anniversary spread in a minute. On related watching videos about how to commit crimes. I was watching a video. Again, went down a bit of a rabbit hole. In the States, there are these sort of kids that call themselves Kia boys. And basically it's been discovered and widely shared online and on TikTok and so on that certain models of Kia and Hyundai cars, because they cut costs basically and didn't put immobilizers in and didn't put sort of special keys in there, if you pull the steering, like the thing that covers the steering rack, and pull the ignition, unplug the ignition, all you need is a USB, just a normal USB-A thing, which you slot over in this lump and turn it, and you start the car and you can nick the car. So the kids are just stealing cars, and like from the age of about 11, and all the kids that steal the cars that call themselves Kia boys is the thing. But there was a tutorial basically on a YouTube video I watched. There you go.
There's so many cables and USB pens and stuff now that can do all sorts of weird hacks.
Well, no, the thing is, the cable doesn't actually do anything apart from, it's a bit like, I mean, if you've seen that's USB A and that's USB C in the way that they sort of overlap each other, and that's exactly the process. You just overlap it, and then it allows you to turn it. So it's just the shape is right. That's sort of the only purpose for the thingy. So yeah.
Sorry, I'd just like a comment to just show up there from Shane, which is this has been Matt's Grand Theft Auto Minute. I like that.
Yes. You will see me on the Twims Instagram live stealing Kias in the
or on next week's episode of Crime Watch
in the Norfolk area.
But listen, we all know it's time now for something that Highland G is always active on pretty much, I'd say 99% of episodes. I'm sure if he's busy one night, he's not. But it's time for this week's
anniversary spread.
That's right. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. If you are watching live, do get your guesses in. Speaking of guesses, Matt.
Glenn.
I said Glenn.
Did you?
Pretty sure I did.
Oh, yeah, you did. Sorry. Gary.
No.
Well, we'll come back to that. It's time for this week's anniversary spread now. Highland G, I know you're familiar with how the game works. But for those that aren't, and you know, if you're not, where have you been? But basically, today on the 13th of June, we are celebrating the anniversary of films that were released, games, songs, could be a bit of random fact fun that was happened on this date. So we'll be going forward, back and forth between Matt and Highland G on each item, let's call it. And all these guys have to do is guess the year that song, movie, whatever it is, was released. And the closest one by the end of it, across the five, is the winner. So we'll start with Highland G, as you are the guest. The first one celebrating this anniversary today is a film. And the film is Lolita. Love that I can hear seagulls in the background there as well. It just adds to the intensity of the moment. Are you familiar with the film, Highland G?
It rings a bell, but no. I would be completely guessing. I'm thinking it's a bit of an older film, maybe.
Okay. There's some guesses in already. The Quizler says 2014. Fuzzy Dunlop says 97. So take that for what you will.
Quite a range.
I'm going to guess maybe 1970.
Okay. Matt, are you familiar with the film?
I'm familiar with the film. It's about a older married gentleman who has an affair with a young girl. Controversially, was seduced by her, I think. I am gonna guess 1966. I agree with Highland G. I think it's an old film, but they may have remade it in more recent years.
Have they?
I think they may have done.
Okay. Well, I can reveal this is the original one that I'm talking about. And it was released in 1962. So, Matt, you were 4 out, so you move on to +4.
Didn't go early enough.
You were 8 out, so not a bad start for you guys. Well done. And that was quite a tough one. I think this week's anniversary spread. I think I've been quite generous on the last few weeks, Matt. I think there's been a lot of films that everyone's aware of, so I've gone a bit crazy this week. So you're up next, Matt, and it's another film called Back to School. Back to School. For the listeners, Matt grasping his hands, he's praying to the gods. Give me a sign.
Yeah, I'm gonna complete guess. I am going to say 2010.
Okay.
I have no idea what this film is.
Highland G, are you familiar with the film? Have you heard of the film?
I have no idea, but I'm going to go earlier this time, so 2005.
Okay. I can reveal that Back to School was released in, or should I say on, a great year, by the way. It was a great year. 1986. A great year. So, Matt, you were 26 out. And Highland G, you were 21 out. So
Highland G's in the lead now.
Highland G's now on +29. Matt, you are on +30. So only one in it. So still close. We move on to the next one. It's a game, Highland G. So your game knowledge will come into play here. I don't think it's an easy one, though. The game is called, and I can't reveal what console it was on. The game is called Soul Bubbles. Soul Bubbles.
Where do you find it? Can I just interrupt the quiz while you're thinking about that? Is we've had a hello from Romania, which I think is the first ever. Ahiva BD, thank you for joining us.
While you're thinking, I'm just going to turn the light on because it feels very dark in here.
Soul Bubbles.
And I'm back. Soul Bubbles. Soul Bubbles.
I mean, that could be last week, or that could be like.
Don't forget that we didn't we have one recently?
That was on the day, or
on
something.
the day, I think it
Literally
was.
released on that day.
I don't know, so I'm going to guess. Let's go 2010.
2010. Okay. Matt, are you familiar with the game?
No, not in the slightest. I'm going to say 2001. Again, a complete guess. I've no idea what this is.
Okay, I can reveal the console that game came out on was the Nintendo DS.
And
the
still
game,
quite a wide.
well, the game was released in 2008.
Oh,
not bad, guys. Highland G, you're now in the lead. You're only 2 out, so you move on to 31. Matt, you were 7 out, so you move on to 37. Bit of a twist on the fourth entry this week because it's another film, and we go back to you, Matt, to start on this one. There was actually the same film, but released 2 different versions of it on this day. How mad is that? So I'm going to give this as 2 for you to guess it.
Right.
The film Hercules. 2 versions of it. I'm not going to say which versions. 2 versions of Hercules were released on the 13th of June at different years. What were the years?
I only really know of the why shouldn't we say no? Because I'm gonna give clues, aren't I? I only really know of one. Which I would say 1996, maybe.
Okay. And the other one?
Oh, do I have to guess both?
Yeah. I'm saying there's 2, so you get double. You get extra chance to get.
Oh, I thought like you could guess, but you had 2 chances of getting it right.
No.
Oh. 2016.
Okay. Highland G.
I'm gonna go 1965.
1965.
And let's go 1998.
Okay, sorry for the silence. I'm just doing some quick maths over here. I'll have another guess while I'm thinking. George.
No.
Oh, for God's sake. Matt, are there any guesses in the comments that you can discuss while I'm doing some maths?
We have, well, in terms of the years.
Yeah.
So, well, there have been a few actors sort of mentioned. So Hercules with Arnold, which I'm guessing is Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then also guess The Rock. Alternative, Fuzzy Dunlop has put out there Robin Williams. So I thought my 90s guess was based on Disney, because there's a Disney Hercules, and I'm sure that's a 90s one. But
well, I can reveal
one.
the 2 films. I think maybe I've been a bit naughty on this one, but the 2 films were the animated one,
right,
which was 1997, and the one starring The Rock, which was 2014.
Oh God, that was close. In those 2.
So now, Matt, I'm going to let you decide here on something, because Matt, you were 1 out on the Disney one and 2 out on the slightly newer one. So you move up to plus 40. Now, if I take Highland G's first answer, which was 1965, technically, away from the Disney one, he is 38 out. However, his next guess, which was 98, is obviously only 1 out from the Disney one.
Yeah.
It would be 16 out of the Rock one, which would jump him up to plus 85 in comparison.
So hang on, but we were supposed to have 2 guesses, right? Wasn't it?
2 guesses, yeah. But my point is, maybe I haven't thought this through properly, and I've scuppered the game.
So you're saying
I was basing your first guess off of the first one.
Oh, right. I say no. You should do it because we guessed 2 dates. Because the way I interpreted you saying it was we guessed 2 dates as to when they were released.
Okay.
And then where those 2 dates correspond with whatever the release date.
So we're saying Highland G's plus 1 then.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's far fairer.
True sportsman.
To do it that way.
Okay, so Highland G, you move on to plus 32. Matt, you're on plus 40. Okay.
All to play for in this last one.
So wait, so we're only counting the one that was correct?
We're going to on this occasion, because otherwise you've got to guess 45.
40 points.
Either side of Matt. Matt doesn't. I think Matt doesn't like winning this game anymore. So
there's something that stops me.
Just wants to keep it interesting.
He does.
Exactly.
But the last one, because you're now winning Highland G.
Can I just say that Shane is plus 82 because he's keeping score.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So technically, well done.
See, if this was a
just give
share,
up.
he'd find a way to make it difficult, so I lose my points.
He would.
Exactly.
He would. Okay, the last one, Highland G, you go first because you are currently winning. And the last one is an album that was released. The second solo album of Bjork was released on this day, but what was the year? What was it?
I have no idea when Bjork's music came out, so I've been completely guessing. Maybe the 80s? 85.
Okay. Matt, you obviously know who Bjork is.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan.
I would say 1999.
Okay. I can reveal that Bjork, I mean, it's a bit like all of this quiz. One of her songs, wasn't it? It's Oh So Quiet.
Which I think was on her second album.
Yeah. Ah, interesting. I can reveal that her second solo album was released in 1995. So that means, wow. Matt, you move on to plus 44 because you were 4 out. Highland G, you were 10 out, which moves you up to 42. And the winner of this week's show, somehow, with Matt's generosity, is Highland G. Well done.
And can we play the anniversary spread thing just one more time? Because we've actually got James T. Keegan in the comments. So,
I mean, if he's still here, he's probably gone. But here he is.
Anniversary spread.
There you go. There's the dulcet tones of James T. Keegan. But well done to Highland G. I've definitely scuppered that there with. I won't do any of them two things again. Let's scrap that. Pretend that never happened.
Terrible. That was a rubbish round.
Forget about it. It never happened. And
can I guess Grant? That's my final guess.
No.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love the tension there. I thought it was the one. Matt, you had the first guess, so I'm going to finish with my final guess, and then, I mean,
you're going to have to tell us is what the reality is.
Glyn.
You say Glyn?
Glyn.
No.
No.
I was going to say with your question though, what you could do if you wanted to do two dates is just give one answer, and you get whatever the number is that you're closest to.
Yeah.
Rather than giving two answers.
I mean, I don't know how many times this scenario is going to come up.
The same thing's going to have two dates on the same day.
I thought it was a clever idea in my head, but I think
was there a reason for it? Did you see if there was a reason why they'd release them on the same day?
Now that would involve research, Highland G.
He does no research for this.
Sometimes I find a fun fact. But I think the fact that I have to do some quick math sometimes, and today's was quite tricky for me, meant that there would have been any time. Well, I guess this is the time then. The unless there's any other guesses from people in the audience, I have seen a lot of guesses actually throughout the show. Gus was one that I saw. I'm guessing it's not Gus. Was there any more that caught your eye?
Gwyneth was the other one.
Gwyneth.
Which,
I shouldn't laugh in case it is. Sorry. Is it Gwyneth?
Go on, hit us with it.
Hit us with it.
I think it's quite funny. Phil's got it down there. It's like it took him 2 years for me to tell him my name, because most of these guys have only been given my name if they've had to post me something or I've had to post them something, and then it's been kind of back and forth. Because like it's not that I've kind of like hid my identity in any kind of sense. It's just that doing things on YouTube and various social kind of platforms, when you're applying for jobs, people search your name up and search everything that you're doing and track it all and all the rest of it. And I've got no interest of having like my entire life tracked by, like some company I'm applying for. So I use Highland G for everything. Like my eBay, my Instagram and stuff, it's all Highland G. That's my like online kind of persona. But yeah, my name is Gordon.
Gordon.
Strong. I like it. Well, on that note, what a way to end the show. God. I would have never guessed that. Just saying. So there you go.
But importantly, tell everyone where they can find your YouTube and your Instagram and so on. It is all shared below in the comment, in the profile of wherever you listen to it or watch it. You will find that information. But please share that with us now.
So yes, my YouTube is just Highland G, just all one word, and there is actually a kind of link on the main channel for most of my other kind of bits and pieces. And then on Instagram, it's the Highland G, because I couldn't get Highland G.
Nice. Make sure you go and follow him. And again, thank you so much for coming on our show. Finally, we got there in the end. I know we tried to get you on last series, but we couldn't get it all together. Look at it for the viewers. He's just displaying, not for the viewers, you can see it, but for the listeners, Highland G is just displaying some of his stuff. Get in touch with him if you want him to make something for you like this. I mean, I'm sure
putting some requests.
He's open to commissions, I'm sure. So, and I'm sure. Well, you tell us, Highland G. The enjoyment that you get out of making these things is as much important to you, I guess.
Yeah, it's for me. It's, as I say, it's the process of being able to bring your imagination to life. Like that's the biggest kind of thing for me, and it also means that I can kind of somewhat personalize gifts. So like for Mother's Day, I printed out some roses in like multicolored and kind of the stems and the vase, and the whole thing was 3D printed.
Love that.
Incredible. So, yeah.
Amazing. Well,
and I put pictures of most of the things I do as well on my Instagram. So if you're looking for like pictures of things, if I buy like a random single issue because I like the cover or something like that, I post all that kind of on the fly stuff on Instagram, and then my kind of longer form videos are on YouTube.
Do go and check him out. Highland G, it's been an absolute pleasure. Stick around and we'll talk to you off air as well, just to say goodbye. But for everyone who joined us this evening, there was lots of people in the chat. Thank you for spending your evening with us. So we'll be back next week. But until then, have fun.
Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe on your favorite service. Past and future episodes can be found on all major streaming platforms, including Amazon, Apple, Google, Spotify, and YouTube. You can also contact James and Matt via Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. They will return in the next This Week in Metropolis.